Okay. I know this is a first for me, but this might be a long video. Lightning Warp, aka the C tier move skill that needs a 4-link to feel usable, and even then, when compared to stuff like Flame Dash and regular dash and throw a second wind into the mix somewhere, Lightning Warp just can't compete. Which is unfortunate, given how cool its visual identity is. Now, usually, when someone tries to incorporate Lightning Warp into their build, they try to shorten its duration by as much as possible, the logic being that the less time it takes to go off, the better it is. But what if we didn't care about that? What if we didn't try to shorten its duration at all? What if we ended up doing the exact opposite of that? Could we make Lightning Warp last forever? Duration is usually a pretty straightforward stat. All sources of it are additive, and all duration-based skills have a finite amount of base duration. This means that there's a hard limit on how far you can push things. Lightning Warp is an exception though, and as far as my brain is aware of, is the only skill in the game that can use multiple stats to calculate its base duration. So whilst Wave of Conviction will end up going across the entire screen, and you may be able to get Cremation to last like 43 seconds, maybe like 49, Lightning Warp can go so much further. To start this project, we need as much duration scaling as possible. We take every node on the tree, and since there isn't really a lot of it on the tree, we rely heavily on cluster jewels. We choose Necro as our ascendancy for an additional 40%. Items that we utilize on the character include Time Twist with 10%, Perfect String of Servitude, Elder Boots, Chamber Karn, Speaker's Wraith. Hands of the High Templar are coupled with Supreme Ego. This is used to boost up the duration that Malevolence gives us. Links on Lightning Warp itself include 2120 duration and 21 efficacy, and since Lightning Warp gains less duration as it levels, we use a level 1 gem, and we skip the +1 Ammi in favor of an Astramentus, which will come in handy a bit later. Now that's a pretty good start, but remember how I said Lightning Warp is unique. Now, instead of having a set base duration like every other skill in the game, it instead gets its base duration by measuring the distance to its target and then using your move speed to calculate the time to travel and then scaling that time to travel with your duration modifier. So that means that the next thing we're looking to abuse is move speed. And boy do I know a thing or two about move speed. But the best part about it is that reducing our move speed is easy as actually. We just add Weight of Sin jewels until our character resembles me in the morning. But there is a cutoff here. As reduced MS is additive and it does not have an asymptote, we will reach 100% reduced move speed, and at that point, we will not be able to move. And I know what you're thinking. If we can't move, then the calculable time to reach our targeted location with Lightning Warp should be infinite, meaning the spell would never go off. Our goal would be reached, right? But it's not. That's not how it works. Lightning Warp only properly factors in our move speed while we have move speed. As soon as we reach 0, it defaults to some weird base coded duration not on the tooltip, plus our increased. And while this may be an unintended bug, or it may be that the game simply can't calculate an infinite duration, I actually think something else is happening here. I think GGG hard-coded Lightning Warp to cast at base duration when cast by an object with 0 move speed. I think this is intended behavior. That way, when some memester comes along and decides to make Lightning Warp mines or traps or totems or whatever, they still function.
Don't play this build.
Since those all have 0 move speed, and that I doubt that the spell is coded to recognize the difference between a trap and myself. Trust me, I can't tell either. So rip Infinite Lightning Warp. But we can make it last a very, very, very long time. Negative 100% is no longer the goal. Negative 99 is. And we do that by using Queen of the Forest and juggling Divines, Dex, Evasion Rolls, Supreme Ostentation, Iron Reflexes, Art of the Gladiator, Wind Dancer, basically just whatever it takes to bring us right down to 99. And it does take quite a bit of finagling, but it's possible. And at this point, we've achieved the longest possible Lightning Warp in the game. Or have we? It was at this point that I had initially wrapped up the script and concluded that while a single cast could never be infinite, you could effectively make a group of casts last several hours, hopefully 10 or so for like a sick ASMR video or whatever. But in compiling assets for the video, I stumbled on something interesting. You see, chain casts of Lightning Warp calculate the distance from the previous cast, not from your character's location. Earlier I had written off abusing distance because I figured it snapshotted the player location for each cast, but it doesn't, so we can. So it's off to Dried Lake. The plan? cast once on each side, and let the end of this video write itself.
One eternity later.
What is this foul sorcery?
So yeah, Lightning Warp apparently also has a hard-coded base travel distance relative to the previous targeted location. I can't win, man. I just can't win. It never works.
I regret everything. Jeez.